Good afternoon. This is the Senate Finance and Appropriations Higher Education Subcommittee, and we will go ahead and get started for hearing bills that we're going to hear this afternoon.
I know one we're going to kill.
So, Senator Pillion, if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and take Senator Lucas, and then I'll take you. Okay. Senator Lucas.
Stop playing favorites.
You knew that.
I'm sorry if anybody ever implied that I tried to give you any orders.
Senator Lucas, you have Senate Bill 1211.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Senate Bill 1211, Eastern Virginia Medical Health Science, is establishing at Old Dominion University the Virginia Health Science Center. And what it does, it establishes and relates to the Eastern Virginia Medical School and designates the school and division previously existing as Eastern Virginia Medical School and such other academic units of Old Dominion University related to health sciences as may be identified by the Old Dominion University Board of Visitors at the Eastern Virginia Medical Health Center at Old Dominion University. I know it sounds like a mouthful, and it is. The bill permits Old Dominion University to provide medical and health science education and related science through their teaching hospitals and related health care and health maintenance facilities at the Health Sciences Center, and contain provisions relating to the operation of the Health Science Center, including provisions related to cooperative arrangements and joint ventures. Madam Chair and members of the committee, I could go on, but there's some folks here who are a lot smarter than I am about all of this, and I'd like for you to hear from them.
Okay. Are there any questions from the committee before we hear from?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Senator Norman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Senator Lucas, there have been some emerging different perspectives on this, and I'm very familiar with it because a couple of years ago there was talk about a merger perhaps with a different university, and that's how I really got involved in it. But I am an advocate of moving forward on this, and I'm just curious, there's been some discussions that maybe there are those who would like to study it. Do you favor studying it or moving forward?
I think we've done all the studying that we need to do, Senator Norman. I'm not in favor of any study groups or trying to bring this to a halt. I think for the good of the Commonwealth, I think this just needs to move forward. And so whatever we need to do to make sure that happens, I'd like to see that happen today.
I appreciate it. We're simpatico.
Okay. So those who are here in favor of Senate Bill 1211, please step forward, and we'll need them to speak into the microphone. Senator Lucas.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Ross Grogg with Kemper Consulting on behalf of Eastern Virginia Medical School. I want to thank Senator Lucas for all her hard work on this legislation. We are very supportive. I think, as we all know, this is all about the money. This particular bill is very mechanical in nature. It really just takes the existing authority that EVMS has to do medical education and move it to Old Dominion University. So I'm happy to go in detail through the bill or answer any questions, but this piece is really just mechanical. As both Senator Norman and Senator Lucas said, we are interested in moving this forward, and where the real discussion is with the dollars. So
Madam
thank you.
Chair, I have a question.
What's
interesting? I know what Eastern Virginia Medical School, it's a medical school, but the health sciences Health Sciences Center at ODU, what is that? How does it differ? It's not a medical school. I guess it's studying chemistry and physics and all that.
Yes, sir. Madam Chair, Senator Edwards. So the new entity at Old Dominion University that would house not only Eastern Virginia Medical School, the health professions programs from EVMS, but also the nursing school from ODU and other health science programs that are already at Old Dominion University would all be housed under the Eastern Virginia Health Sciences Center, which is what this bill is creating at Old Dominion University.
Madam Chair, this doesn't deal with educating MDs in a 4-year medical school, but rather nurses and other related.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Senator Edwards. So EVMS today, in addition to the MD program, has a number of health profession programs that vary from 1-year degrees to 2 and 3-year master's programs. So all of those programs
I see.
would be moving over to Old Dominion University and their existing undergraduate and graduate health science education.
Madam Chair, how far apart
Edwards.
is Eastern Virginia from ODU?
Right down the road.
A rock's throw.
So a rock throw, okay.
About a putter's
100
stroke.
feet or something? I got you. Sure. Makes perfectly good sense. Thank you.
Any other questions to Ross? Okay, anyone else here in support of Senate Bill 1211?
Shortest testimony. Annie Gibson with ODU. We are in support of legislation.
Thank you. Okay, anyone here in opposition to Senate Bill 1211?
Good afternoon, Anna Healy James with Centera Healthcare. While we are not opposed to the bill, we're also
That's
not
all we need if you're not opposed.
we're not supportive, and the reason being, again, what was discussed earlier, it's about the money. And we just really want to continue the conversations as we are a big part as the teaching hospital, which is in your language of the bill, but we have not been addressed to what our financial commitment may be with this, and so we're just really concerned about that as the probably largest funder of EVMS currently. And
Does-
so we want to work together and get it figured out. We're just concerned if this is moving too fast, what that should mean.
Does passage of the legislation preclude further discussion?
I think what it is that it puts the governance structure in place this July 1st. And so, but the budget language was very clear that it wouldn't be happening until July 1st, 2024. And so we just want to make sure that everything is worked out. We like the current budget language the governor put in for the $10 million for the planning. We think that's perfect as it sets milestones for everyone to collaborate and together. And I'm not saying Centera is very supportive of the merger. It's just all the different pieces and the devil's in the details as we move forward, and that's our concern.
Senator Norman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. What can we do legislatively to incentivize Centera to perhaps not be putting their heavy thumb on something? I mean, is there something we can do maybe legislatively that would provide some inducement
Money.
other than money?
Well, it's a very interesting question.
Madam Chair, Senator Norman, I was asked earlier that the state may want to fund this, and I said, I don't think so.
Well, that's,
I do know, and respectful of where they're coming from, and Madam Chairman, I'm sorry. Centera has had a working relationship with EVMS and some of the residency programs and the money and stuff. With the enormity and market power that Centera has, and I'm serious about this, I would hope that they would not try to interrupt or procrastinate, obfuscate what the legislature is trying to do.
can I respond?
Can, but I may respond right back. I'm just very clear about where I am on this.
And we are the largest fund. And just as a reminder, we are the largest funder and have been since the beginning of EVMS, and we will continue to do so. The issue is that it's very unclear what that should look like in the future with the merger. And so we just want to make sure that it is, we go on record now saying that we want to be part of the solution, and it's not saying we're against it. We just want to know what that is, and financially, because I'm responsible to my board, who would have to vote for that. So.
Madam Chair, we might want to think about revisiting a topic we had a number of years ago, a bed tax on hospitals.
Uh-oh.
So,
I think I need to take my coat off. Ooh, getting warm in here.
and I just want to understand what is it that this particular piece of legislation would preclude Centera from doing as it relates to EVMS and ODU moving forward with the merger?
And again, we're supportive of moving forward. We just want to make sure all the pieces are done in the right way before this would be the governance structure, which would go into effect this July.
So it's the governance structure that's going into place in July that's problematic for
Yeah,
Centerra.
we would like to see the full picture. And the finances for that. I just want to go on record. We are here, we're supportive, but we just want to see what it looks like.
Okay.
If there are no other speakers, we recommend reporting.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that SB 1211 we recommend it for reporting.
Yes, ma'am.
Be recommended for reporting. Please call the roll. You call the roll.
Yep. Senator, sure. Senator Locke,
Aye.
Senator Norman, Senator Newman, Senator Howe, Senator Edwards,
Aye.
Senator Ruff.
Sasslaw,
You got Sasslaw?
Oh, that's my fault.
you have K-12.
I've got K-12. So.
That's all right. I don't know how Hal wants to vote.
Sasslaw.
Aye. Aye, aye.
I think you're done.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator
And members
Pillion.
of the committee, I'll take my coat and my bag and I'm gone.
No, don't take that on me now.
Senate Bill
Different bill.
1422.
Yes.
This is for Senator Pillion.
So this bill would allow SHEV to increase the maximum rate of reimbursement for the workforce credential grant from $3,000 to $4,000. It's not been increased since the program's inception in 2016.
Make sure you.
Oh, sure. And you can imagine, due to inflation, gas, materials with CDLs, welding has gone up, increased significantly. This is a pay performance program that supports individuals in attaining an industry-based credential in high-demand occupations to better serve the region and state workforce needs. Under this bill, the state will still support the two-thirds of the cost of the program. The students complete the training and attain a credential. The student is responsible for the remaining one-third of the cost.
Any questions to Senator Pillion on SB 1422?
Second.
Hold on. Anyone here to oppose Senate Bill 1422? Okay, now I'll take the motion.
Might involve another tax.
Okay, the motion is to recommend for reporting Senate Bill 1422. All those in favor, oh no, call the roll. I forgot, we're in another setting here.
Senator Normant. Senator Howe. Senator Edwards.
Aye.
Senator Ruff.
Aye.
Senator Sasslaw.
Aye.
Senator Locke.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. I don't know who got here first.
Who? The big guy?
Thank you, Senator Suderline. I believe you have Senate Bill 1429.
I've got Senate Bill 1429. It's a pretty direct bill. First, just to be clear, since 529 is mentioned, this does not take funds away from. This is not one of those huge 529 bills that Senator Serville has. What this bill seeks to do is make families that have already put their money invested in a 529, they currently are allowed to use it for private school education for their children or grandchildren, as the case may be. I have constituents in Salem who asked me to introduce this legislation to provide so that a hybrid school is eligible. A hybrid school looks a lot like a private school, except for instead of going Monday through Friday, they might go Monday through Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday, the private school gives them their packet, basically, and then their education supervised by a parent or guardian or other family member on Thursday, Friday, or some other combination thereof. So it's pretty simple bill, except the issue is if it's not enacted, these folks at the hybrid schools, their children can't use the 529 that their grandparents have already invested the money in. Often these, which isn't to say all hybrid schools are like this, but frequently these are less resourced private schools that are on their way to, they might become 5-day schools, or sometimes they anticipate that they're going to stay 3 days permanently, but this is a way where they are able to offer education opportunities to more children by virtue of the fact that they only are there 3 instead of 5 days. So that's the bill.
Thank you, Senator Suderline. Senator Suderline, the federal tax code does allow for public or private elementary or secondary schools to qualify under the program, but there's no such allowance for what you're calling the hybrid program. So is this even allowable under the IRS tax code?
Madam Chair, I never heard any concerns about federalism from council.
I didn't say federalism. I said the federal tax
Well, that's
code.
what I mean. I mean, with us conflicting with the federal government. The way this bill was drafted, I sent the correspondence from the constituents to Legislative Services and said I would welcome guidance on how you think this bill should be crafted so that they could be eligible. And they came back with the Section 1 provision and said, we believe that if it's written like this, your constituents will be eligible. The grandparents would 529 account for their child would be allowed to be used.
I just raised the question. Senator Edwards.
I always thought the college savings plan was for colleges, college tuition, not for elementary or secondary private schools. That's what I've always assumed.
No, there are, and we've got some kids in the Roanoke Valley, as I understand it, at private schools. I think both Roanoke Catholic and North Cross, in which they're usually their grandparents, they're very benevolent grandparents who are using a 529 they created to help these kids whose parents probably couldn't afford it. And so the grandparents put it through the 529 for them.
Madam Chair, I guess, what is a hybrid then? If you can do this at the private schools, what is hybrid? I'm not sure what that is.
Going to the school 3 days or 2 or 3 days and going home the other days.
Can you tell me a particular school? Because I've never heard anything quite like that.
I think there is one in Montgomery. The name escapes me. I think that's where these children go. But I think there's also one here in Richmond. I'm happy to try to produce a list of them. It's not something that I was familiar with before these folks in Salem brought it to me.
Other questions, Senator Norman?
Is there anyone from 529 that is here that can tell us whether or not the 529 funds qualify for a elementary or secondary school? I'm just not familiar with this concept at all.
Okay. Are there individuals here in support of Senate Bill 1429? Anyone here in opposition to 1429? Awfully quiet group here today.
It's just these few hundred families across Virginia. That's why we got public schools.
Okay, we have Senate Bill 1429.
Madam Chairman, I move to recommend passage, and hopefully if there are any folks that can, names of any schools that you can come up with before the full committee would be great.
Madam Chair, I'll second it, but I'm doing it with serious reservations. I would want to know a little bit more
Passage.
about the access to 529 and whether or not we are opening Pandora's box here
That's why I'm probably
for
not voting
a
no.
broader situation. I'm totally unfamiliar with this concept.
Okay, the motion is to recommend passage, move it to the full committee, SB 1429. Please call the roll.
Senator Normant.
Complicated, aye.
Senator Howe. Senator Edwards.
No.
Senator Ruff.
Aye.
Senator Saslaw. Senator Locke.
No.
3 noes, 2 ayes.
Thank you, Senator Sedona. Senator Reeves.
And you're an educator.
I am.
Madam Chair, I think I have
Senate Bill 1193. I think you chaired the subcommittee for this one.
I did indeed.
This is the National Guard in-state tuition for our out-of-staters that are serving in the National Guard. And I did pull up some numbers for the senator from James City that his institution has 40 National Guard members that attend there, but none of them are out-of-state. So,
But this is Senate Bill 1202.
oh, did I just call it
Or-
wrong?
or-
Bill?
or
It's-
1193.
You're right. It's 12. It's 12.
Is it 1202 or 1193?
1202.
1202.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the National Guard bill.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was looking at this tab and reading the bill. Wrong tab. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Members of the sub, this is a bill to try to help us retain and keep some of the folks that live out of the state that serve in the National Guard from North Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Maryland. And we've got to hold on to these folks. Our force structure depends on trying to find some ways that we can keep these folks here. A lot of these folks will be using the GI Bill when they do use the opportunity to go to school in Virginia. Simple bill.
Why do we need to hang on to them? And I mean, I understand what you're saying, any more than a kid that lives down the street say.
Madam Chair, Senator Saslaw, that's a great question, but the challenge we have is getting people to join the National Guard, one.
So
And
you're doing it as an incentive.
an incentive to retain these,
Join the National Guard.
Madam Chair, as an incentive to hold on to the troops that we have right now and the force structure that we have that are out of state serving here. We're trying to retain those folks. It's recruiting in the National Guard has been very, very difficult over the last few years based on rotations.
Virginia National Guard, do you know?
I don't know if there's anybody here from the administration that can tell me strength troop. Cassie? Colonel, what's the strength for the National Guard right now?
Army and Air were at 90-something, sir. 9,000 something.
9 or 90?
9,000.
9.
90,000.
I don't have the exact.
9,000 and something.
Senator Norman.
Senator Reeves, would they have to be or remain a resident of Virginia? Or, in other words, somewhere earlier in the session, I recall we were talking about the National Guard, and there were some Virginia citizens that were going to North Carolina to join the Guard out there because there were some advantages. Would these people?
You mean Virginia residents going to North Carolina being the North Carolina Guard?
Yes, sir.
Well, if they're already Virginia residents, they would get in-state tuition here, so this bill would not affect them. So North Carolina probably has some other tools that we don't have to steal our guardsmen from Virginia to take them to North Carolina.
Okay. Are there those here in support of Senate Bill 1202? Dick. Anyone in opposition? Okay, we have Senate Bill 1202.
Guess the question I have, Madam Chair,
Senator Edwards.
the why is it needed to encourage people to join the National Guard? Is that the reason to encourage people to incentivize people to join the National Guard who are out-of-state students who, I guess, they live in North Carolina, but they join the Virginia National Guard? Why do we need to do this?
Madam Chair, Senator, as I told Senator Saslaw, Senator, we have troops from Maryland, from Tennessee, from Kentucky, from North Carolina, because they're bordering states. They're currently serving for the Virginia National Guard. We're trying to retain those members and trying to give them added benefits for staying here in Virginia to serve our Guard. Some of them probably can't afford to live in our state right now. And our recruiting in the Guard right now is very, very difficult. So if we have troops that have come from other states that are willing to serve in our National Guard here in Virginia, we'd like to retain them.
I mean, is there data from the National Guard showing
Edwards.
this, or what?
They're here if they'd like to speak to it.
Sir, I can't give you data about how many are out of state and so forth. But I
If
know
you could
that-
come forward and tell us who you are, please.
I'm Russell Woodley with the Virginia National Guard, Department of Military Affairs. We're in a street fight for soldiers and airmen, just like everybody else is. You know, federally, it's a struggle to get recruits, and on the National Guard level, for all the states, it's a struggle to get recruits. So, to the degree that we're able to get soldiers and airmen from other states, we certainly need to do that to keep our force structure up. And as the senator said, force structure is the key to keeping armories, it's keeping units, and it's a struggle right now, as it hasn't been for a long time. So, to whatever degree we can keep those soldiers in, encourage soldiers to come in, regardless of where they live.
Let me ask you
as
a
the senator said,
yeah.
there's a lot from other states.
Let me ask the question another way. Isn't this being on the National Guard is a part-time job, right? It's not full-time.
Sir, it's I guess you could call it that. It's one weekend a month.
Yeah.
2 weeks in the summer, and then maybe years away from home. So it's you can't really call it a part-time job, sir.
Well,
Senator Saslaw.
I mean, you do understand this problem is easily solvable if you had people across the river with a backbone and they did what everybody knows needs to be done, and that's reinstitute the draft. You didn't used to have these problems.
I'm not authorized to speak
that's
to
not
that,
gonna
sir.
happen.
Yeah, I don't have permission on that.
Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Colonel.
How many, before you leave, how many folks do you think this would affect?
1,000 years ago.
Not a tremendous number, sir. 20? I think it's be higher than that, sir, but I think we're probably talking double digits, I believe.
About 200 and less.
Yeah,
I think that's about
it's
200 or less. But they're in, Madam Chair, some of these occupation fields, military occupation fields, are highly skilled. You just can't pick them up, and it takes an enormous amount of time for our Guard to get a recruit, send them to basic training, send them to advanced training, get them trained, and then try to keep them.
So, Madam
Okay.
Chair, yeah, I want to be clear. This is,
Senator
they're
Edwards.
paying tuition, but in-state tuition, not out-of-state tuition.
yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay, we have Senate Bill 1202.
Move recommended supporting.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1202 be recommended for reporting. Please call the roll.
Senator Normant.
Aye.
Senator Howe.
Aye.
Senator Edwards.
Aye.
Senator Ruff.
Aye.
Senator Saslaw. Senator Locke.
Aye.
6-0 for reporting.
You have 1193.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, you also were chairman when this bill was heard in the Education Health Sub. Originally, this bill started off to try to track some specific countries that were having grants to our higher education institutions. I think it was Senator Peterson, if memory serves, came up with a substitute that would allow us the opportunity to just kind of put them all in one bucket. And what this does is each public institution of higher education in the Commonwealth shall disclose to the council any financial gifts, bequests, grants, or payments received from or any contract entered into with foreign governments by such institution or any employee or agent thereof.
Okay.
It's just trying to track what monies are coming in so we can understand who's influencing different things in different education institutions.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Senator Edwards.
Where did this come from? I mean, is there a problem that our students are getting money from China or somewhere?
Madam Chair, Senator Edwards, the Biden Justice Department just prosecuted a bunch of folks from China for this exact reason. November of 21, and I have a whole list. I'm happy to share with him if he'd like to look at all these.
Senator, don't institutions do this anyway?
Madam Chair, I think there was some discussion about that. I don't know if any of the higher ed institutions spoke at that time. I can't remember. It's a lifetime ago, even though it was a few weeks ago. If they're here, I'm happy to hear from them. I don't remember, to be honest.
Yes.
Madam Chair, Grace Cavelowitz-Shev, nice to meet you. Hi, members of the committee. So at the last meeting, it was discussed, and we went back to look at our code, and currently institutions we can request institutions to report gifts, bequests, grants, contracts made by a foreign government, a foreign legal entity, or a foreign person, and accepted by a public institution of higher education in the Commonwealth, which shall be subject to public disclosure upon written request to the Board of Visitors. So that's currently in code.
So they do it anyway?
Upon request.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam, make sure I understood. You're saying upon request, they have to produce this information already. Did I misunderstand you?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Senator Edwards, yes.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, ma'am, don't walk away, please, if you don't mind. Maybe you can answer this question for me. So you might have the information, but until somebody asks for it, you don't disclose it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The institutions have the information. SHEB does not have it, but upon request to the institution's Board of Visitors, it shall be provided according to code.
So, Madam Chair, the way the bill's written and working with Senator Peterson, they have to disclose that to the council. It's not somebody doesn't have to ask for it. They're going to make them disclose it.
Other questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, so
Chair.
what's the problem? I mean, they have it, but they don't produce it because nobody asked for it. So what's the problem?
Senator Edwards, part of the problem is that we don't know what they're getting and not getting, and I guess we could FOIA every institution in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but I don't know that we need to do that either. I think there's a process here that through the bill and working with Senator Peterson the way he's designed it, that they just disclose it to the council so it's readily available.
Now, is the Department of Justice,
Edwards.
Madam Chair, Department of Justice asking for this? Because it looks like DOJ is looking into it for some reason. So I'm not sure why.
Madam Chair, Senator Edwards, I don't know that DOJ is involved, but they're in a list there. If you go through all those pages of where foreign governments have engaged in countless acts of stealing intellectual property and all these things. So I think it's a measure that puts into a safeguard that,
Yeah. Well, Madam Chair, I still want to find out who's really requesting this. Is it just for fun, or is it this being a serious problem? And why is it not a national issue then?
Madam Chair, Senator Edwards, I think if you look at what I just provided you, it is a national issue. I think it's a national security issue that we're losing intellectual properties to enemies of our country. We talk, Madam Chair, we talk about fentanyl, we talk about all the other things that are coming in, Yet we don't want to close it off?
Hold on, Saslaw.
Madam Chairman.
Yes. Go ahead, Saslaw.
Saslaw is going to ask the same question I'm thinking
Is
of.
this another one that Chinese communists are trying to take over Virginia?
Madam Chair, it's not that anymore.
Okay, is there anyone here to support Senate Bill 1193? Anyone here in opposition? Okay.
You don't think anybody
Okay.
cares about anything we're doing today.
I don't either. Okay, we have Senate Bill 1193.
Move to recommend PBI.
Second.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1193 be recommended to be passed by indefinitely. Please call the roll.
Senator Norman.
No.
Senator Howe.
Aye.
Senator Edwards.
Aye.
No.
Senator Saslaw.
Aye.
Senator Locke.
Aye.
Thank you,
Thank
Madam
you,
Chair.
Senator Reeves.
Appreciate it.
Senator Hashmi?
What's the vote? I couldn't hear.
4-2.
Okay.
PBI.
You have Senate Bill 1130.
Chair, and 1130, the substitute that we had introduced in the subcommittee is different than the introduced bill. So the substitute asked that we convene a work group that would evaluate our G3 program and the opportunities that we have to expand it. As all of you know, G3 has been remarkably successful in helping Virginians go to our community colleges, and particularly helpful in addressing critical workforce needs, as was the intentionality of the legislation as introduced by Senator Saslaw. So it's doing remarkably well, but we essentially need to expand it. As we know, not all of our workforce needs are going to be met by two-year degrees, by the AA Applied Associates degree programs that are overwhelmingly a part of the G3 program. We also are in need to give opportunities for transfer students to be able to continue their education, particularly, again, in those high critical needs such as healthcare professions, technology, and education. So this would give the work group would be tasked with the responsibility of evaluating how we structure an expanded G3 and how we give greater flexibility to the G3 program to move in directions of greater alignment with emerging workforce needs that we might see in the next decade. So the flexibility and the expansion are the responsibilities of the work group. That's what it would be addressing.
Thank you. Are there any questions relative to Senate Bill 1130?
Madam Chair. I'd just like to ask staff if we would need an amendment to require coordination between the work group and the board.
Madam Chair, one piece that we did notice is there is existing code where the Board for Workforce Development does provide that, and this group, while it does have the chair of the Workforce Board, we would like to look at the language and just make sure there's some clarification there. Of course.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there those here in support of Senate Bill 1130? Anyone here in opposition?
Move to report.
Second.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1130 be reported, and we're going to work on the language.
Madam Chair, do you all want to adopt amendment in concept, or do you want to wait to the full committee to do that?
Let's do it in concept, yeah.
I think you can voice vote that, and then we
Yeah.
can recommend reporting.
Okay.
I would move that.
Okay.
In concept.
And you're second.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the amendment in concept. All those in favor, please say aye. If Norman was, if Saslaw would stop talking, aye. Okay. Okay.
Move to report as
It's been moved and seconded that SB 1130 be adopted as amended. Please call the roll.
Senator Normant? Senator Howe?
Aye.
Senator Edwards? Senator Ruff?
Aye.
Senator Saslaw? Senator Locke?
Aye.
6-0.
Thank you,
Thank
Senator
you.
Hashmi. Senator Ruff, you have a couple.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First one is Senate Bill 955. This bill requests to the National Guard. The current law allows Guard members to qualify for tuition assistance under defined terms, such as they have to have at least 2 years of enlistment left. This bill would allow public institutions to enter into special arrangement contracts with military affairs for additional tuition reductions outside the current rates if they wish to do so. That is the bill.
I think we need to address the, is there a cap on the number of credits the students can take, or is there no end game to that?
Madam Chair, there's also a component of that bill that also changed the eligibility requirements as well regarding the National Guardsmen to be eligible within their last 2 years. That was a change too. And I think there was a question if that is to change, whether we need to consider limitations on the amount of credits, if that could expand eligibility.
And again, Russell Woodley, Military Affairs. This bill does two things. So last year we changed our system from a pay up front system to the colleges, where Virginia National Guard would pay the colleges, to a reimbursement system. So our soldiers and airmen, they pay the colleges, and then assuming the right grades are met and all the criteria are met, then we will reimburse the soldier or airman afterwards. So making that change created a couple of problems within the code. So one is the 2-year requirement. We went to the Attorney General's office and they spoke with the Department of Taxation. And in the code as it exists now, it talks about the 2-year requirement. The 2 years have to be left on the military obligation at the end of the semester for which they're getting benefits. But in the second part of that same code section, it uses the word incur. And that makes it sound like them getting this benefit then obligates them to a two-year commitment. That's not the case. The 2 years is an eligibility requirement. So we're just asking that code section be changed to minimize the chances that the federal IRS is going to come after our soldiers who get this this STAP benefit, this tuition assistance benefit, and make that a taxable event. So we're really not changing anything with regards to your obligation. It's always been the case. They've had to have 2 years at the end of the term for which they're getting the tuition assistance. We're just taking out the word incur. So it's a condition that has to be present before they're even eligible to ask for it, not that getting the benefit creates that obligation. So it's semantics, but in talking with the Attorney General's office and again through them, the State Tax Department, it might make a difference in the IRS's determination of whether it's a taxable benefit. But it doesn't change the obligation at all. It's always been 2 years. The second part is these special arrangement contracts. So it's always been the case that an employer in Virginia, and DMA was one of those, who guaranteed payment of the tuition if they had an out-of-state employee or soldier, airman in our case, then they could get the in-state tuition through the special arrangement contracts with the universities. And Virginia National Guard had special arrangement contracts with, I think, all universities to one degree or another that allowed for that in-state tuition for our out-of-state soldiers. But when we changed it to the reimbursement model, where the soldier's paying up front, that took us out of the code section, because we're not guaranteeing the colleges anymore. We're telling that soldier we're going to reimburse the soldier. So the change to that section just puts us back in the same position as we were previously before we changed how the program ran. So the colleges may, they don't have to, but they may enter into a special arrangement contract with us so that our out-of-state soldiers who take the state tuition assistance program get in-state rates. This is a little different from Senator Reeves's bill. That was all National Guard soldiers. This only applies to those who get the state tuition assistance benefit. But there's no difference from the way it was before. This language puts us back in the same position as we were before we changed how the program ran.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Senator Edwards.
This 2-year obligation, is this an additional 2-year obligation, or they have 2 years remaining on their obligation?
Sir, when they apply for the program, and again, this is the way it's always been, when they apply for the program, they have to have 2 years remaining on their obligation at the end of the semester for which they're getting benefits. So they're getting the state tuition benefit, state tuition assistance benefit for the spring 23 semester. At the end of the spring 23 semester, they have to have 2 years remaining on their contract.
So this is not a 2 years, it's more.
It's not adding 2 years to their contract, so they'd have to have that before they're even eligible to apply to the program. And again, it's always been that way.
Okay. Additional questions? Okay. Okay. Anyone in opposition?
I would move that it be recommended reporting.
This is Senate Bill 955.
Second.
Saslaw's looking for it.
I'm sorry?
Saslaw's looking for it.
You have that one? Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 955 be recommended for reporting. Please call a roll.
Senator Norman. Senator Howe.
Aye.
Senator Edwards.
Aye.
Senator Ruff.
Aye.
Senator Saslaw.
Aye.
Senator Locke.
Aye.
6-0.
Ruff, can I take Senator Deeds?
Sure.
Senator Deeds.
1386. It's about in this order.
Okay, we have Senate Bill 1386.
This is about the process of paying for college. You know, it can be expensive, especially if you're estranged from your parents or your parents are incarcerated. The dependency override is already the law. And there's nothing about this bill that changes that or makes a new group of people eligible. All this bill requires is that a form, the process of knowing it exists, that this process exists, isn't that well known. So this requires every school to develop a form and put it make it available on the internet.
Okay, I have a note here, Wendy, that says that a substitute is needed to align with the federal guidance.
Madam Chair, we did receive a note that in November that the federal government did issue something that is requiring it, and we did hear that there was another substitute that looks to make sure that it would keep those two in sync, but still could move forward just to make sure they align.
I'd not heard that. I'd not heard
Yeah.
that we were going to do a substitute, but I did know the federal government passed something in November that, yeah.
Okay. All right, any questions with regard to Senate Bill 1386? Okay. Anyone here in opposition to 1386? Okay. All right,
I'm to substitute.
need a motion.
Adopt substitute. Yeah, need to adopt
But are we
substitute.
going to do the substitute in concept? We need a motion.
Move the substitute in concept, only because I trust Creed.
And if there's a mistake, I'll strike it.
Okay. So the motion is to move a substitute in concept. We need a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Frank. It's moved and seconded that we, right, have a substitute in concept. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed. Okay, so now we need a motion on the bill.
Move to report the substitute.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1386 as a substitute be approved, be recommended for approval. All those in favor, please call the roll.
Senator Norman.
Aye.
Senator Howe.
Aye.
Senator Edwards.
Aye.
Senator Ruff.
Aye.
Senator Saslaw. Senator Locke.
Aye. Thank you, Creed.
Thank you very much.
All right, so Senator Ruff, we are back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senate Bill 1077 deals with Richard Bland Board of Visitors. The legislation will create a separate Board of Visitors for Richard Bland College. Richard Bland has been connected with William and Mary forever, but over the last number of years, everything has been separated except the Board of Trustees. So they have separate administrations, but they share the same common board. Richard Bland serves both traditional and non-traditional students. It has both commuter students, and they have residential halls. The belief is that if there is a regional board for Richard Bland, that there will be more community input, more community investment in the college, rather than people who just aren't connected with Richard Bland in that Petersburg area at all. So the President is here if you would like any more input, but you've heard it before, so it's up to you.
Are there questions with regard to Senate Bill 1077? Senator?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If Madam President would be so kind to respond to a question or two, please.
Madam Chair, Senators.
Good
Yes, sir.
afternoon. How are you?
I am well. How are you, Senator?
I'm having a good time now that I know I can talk to you about Richard Bland and William and Mary. I live in the Williamsburg community and have a modest focus on William and Mary, and I know that their Board of Visitors has unequivocally supported a further disassociation but independence of Richard Bland. Are you in support of establishing an independent board for Richard Bland?
An independent board, Madam Chair, an independent board for Richard Bland College at this time is exactly what's needed for us to bring to scale the type of entrepreneurial programming that we have been developing over the last decade. There needs to be a board that is focused on our trajectory as an institution that is an anomaly in Virginia public higher education. There is no other institution like Richard Bland. We have proven the concept that being entrepreneurial with strategic partnerships, such as Drone Up and the Flight Academy that's operational on our campus now, expected to expand in the coming years, our one-of-a-kind FAME, Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education, co-op program, if you will, Earn and Learn. We are simply doing things differently, being experimental, and that is proving to be a great benefit for the students we serve, and as Senator Ruff said, a great benefit for a community that needs more higher education, more options, not fewer.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Norman?
Are you comfortable that Richard Bland has arrived at the academic maturity where they don't need the supervision of another four-year institution in a paternalistic oversight way?
Madam Chair, yes, sir, I am 100% confident of that.
That's all I need.
May I just say that 85% of our faculty are full-time, that we are very focused on academic integrity. We are grateful for that liberal arts tradition of the great College of William and Mary, but we are expanding beyond right? Just that university parallel first and second year, and we are assuredly a strong institution academically.
Last question, Madam Chairman. Is Richard Bland, and particularly under your leadership, prepared to move forward in this direction of establishing an independent board and continuing to promote your entrepreneurial spirit without studying it for some extended period of time?
Madam Chair, yes, sir. We are prepared to move forward. As Senator Ruff said, if approved, this would go live on July 1st of this year, and we are prepared. We operate independently currently. We are independently accredited.
Talk to them. I know very much about how you operate.
We are independent. We simply share a board. That is the only connection we have. We believe that, as Senator Ruff said, with the addition of a board that has a regional focus, that has a Petersburg focus and understanding, that we will be able to bring to scale the educational model that we have, again, proven to be effective.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman, and I would say that I didn't prep her on my questions, so.
Madam Chairman.
Okay. Senator Howell, and then Senator Ruff.
Thank you. I see in my notes that the Virginia Community College System Board just recently passed a resolution expressing concern regarding the change in governance. Do you have any comment on that, or how would we deal with that?
I do.
Oh. All right, well, we'll let you respond.
Madam Chair, thank you. I cannot speak for the community college system. I would just say that although we offer two-year degrees, the Richard Bland College was established well before the community college system. Therefore, we are a different construct and have been a different construct. We are not open enrollment. As Senator Ruff said, we have about 40% of our population is residential. We are simply fulfilling a different mission, and I would reiterate that I believe, especially in the region that we are in, there is room for a lot of different options to address the needs, the educational needs of our community. So I would say we are not seeking to compete with in any way the community colleges. Rather, we are seeking to supplement the local needs and getting very focused in the areas of service, including advanced manufacturing and UAS, uncrewed aerial systems.
Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would also point out that we have a community college system that covers the entire state. John Tyler, Bright Point, whatever you want to call it, has had that same area forever. And to say that it might become, that Richard Bland might become a community college, what does that do for Bright Point in their territory? It would change that drastically. So there's no logic there at all, and just the things that Richard Bland has been able to do because they're so flexible is, I think, a great asset to the state. Debbie, why don't you tell them how many dual enrollment students you deal with?
Madam Chair, we have 1,500 dual enrollment students. That's a program that has grown dramatically in the last 7 to 10 years, serving students across the state, public and private high schools, through agreements established that in every case are attempting again to supplement the good work of community colleges around the state. But we are essentially offering what the community colleges are not offering. And so our goal is to fill the gaps. Our goal is not to compete with any other institution. And again, I think the numbers speak for themselves. We have grown 21% since 2017. That is through COVID. That is as other institutions have seen drops.
Madam Chair, yeah.
Senator Edwards and
How
then
large
Senator
is
Norman.
Richard Bland? You come up with numbers. How many students at first and second year? How many in the first year and how many in second year?
Madam Chair, we have a total of 2,500 students. 1,500 of those students are dual enrollment, serving different modalities of dual enrollment, some on-site in high schools, some on-site at the college, some through online learning. We are serving, again, about 475 students are residential on campus, and the remaining students are commuter students on campus, very much a traditional age on-campus population. We have to date served 100 drone-up students, drone-up uncrewed aerial systems.
Okay, drones.
Drones.
Oh, okay.
Drones.
Drone.
Yes. So again, an expanding population of students as we find ways through strategic partnerships to add value in terms of credentials offered that allow students to have stackable credentials that lead to jobs in high-demand fields.
Another kind of semi-off-the-wall question, but when was it founded and where's it located? And is it named for a former governor from the Eastern Shore, Governor Bland?
Madam Chair, yes, we were founded in 1960. During the early years, we were governed by the colleges of William and Mary, including Christopher Newport, Old Dominion, and for a time, the Richmond Professional Institute, now VCU. So, yes, we have been around for quite a while. Where we are located is we are less than 2 miles from Petersburg High School. We are a 750-acre campus, there's a road right through, half in Dinwiddie, half in Prince George County. Richard Bland was a member of the House of Burgesses.
He was from the Eastern Shore. Yeah, Dick Saslaw was with him. Yeah, and there's a county in Western Virginia called Bland County, named after the same guy. He's from the Eastern Shore, wasn't he? The governor.
Okay, we're not going to get into any history. Okay, Senator Norman.
A couple of things, Madam Chairman, and somewhat response to Senator Howell's inquiry. This discussion about establishing Richard Bland's independence has been going on for a number of years. The College of William and Mary has looked at it very carefully, and over a period of years, they have been lessening the paternalistic oversight and letting Richard Bland develop its independence and a number of its support and ancillary services, moving towards this objective of independence. The current William and Mary Board has considered this very serious, and they are confident that Richard Bland is at the point in their trajectory where they can do this and be successful and expand their academic appeal. So I would say that's one thing. On the community college board, this is an unfamiliar prototype that they have not dealt with, and I do know that there is one particular verbose individual on there who goes unnamed from Virginia Beach that has really been pushing it very, very strong, and he's come up with a couple of suggestions, and one of them was let the community college board become the board of Richard Bland. Well, that is not consistent with many of the objectives that have been articulated on what their mission is. And so then the backup was, okay, well, let's study it. And I would just say I'm very comfortable, based on what I know about Richard Bland and William and Mary, that this is not something that needs study, and I would
So you're comfortable with the current method of moving forward
Yes,
with no additional governance options.
I am comfortable we don't need to study additional governance options.
Further questions? Okay, thank you, Madam President. Senator Ruff, any additional information?
I think we've covered it, Madam Chairman. I move the report, recommend reporting.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1077 be recommended for reporting. Please call the roll.
Senator Norman. Senator Howe.
Aye.
Senator Edwards.
Aye.
Senator Ruff.
Aye.
Senator Saslaw. Senator Locke.
Aye.
6-0.
Does that exhaust the agenda? Okay. That's it?
Is that it?
That's it.
Good. Go ahead and drink.
We got resources.
Oh, no.
I don't have resources.
We'll have a drink.
We'll be happy to recruit you.
Nick.